Hello and welcome to the Business Today, India Today studios here in the national capital, where we are dissecting and decoding Budget 24-25, and joining me is one of the most important budget makers, Secretary of the Department of Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Ajay Seth. Other budget makers will also join us as we continue with this conversation. Welcome, Mr. Seth. The big sort of focus area of this budget has been jobs, the employment focus, and we know that the government has been running schemes like the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, where a PF subvention was being provided, salaries were capped at 15,000. Can you tell us what is the new and distinctive in the current employment announcement that has been done today?
See, first of all, the scheme which you mentioned, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, that was in the context of the COVID pandemic, and it was a limited period scheme. The support was provided. Now what is being done is a more medium to long term to help economy generate more jobs, and that what is the medium being chosen, or the instrument which is being chosen, is around the employment, create activity. And so there are three schemes which have been formulated. First scheme is about the first timers. Anybody who joins EPFO for the first time in any formal sector, 1 month wage in 3 installments will be given to that person directly. This is in addition to whatever that person may be getting the salary. This will be limited to 15,000 total 1 month wage, but the eligibility is 1 lakh. To somebody who is earning say 50,000 rupees, 50, will also get 15,000 in 3 installments of 5,000 each. But if somebody is on a semi-skilled person, is on a minimum wage is say 15,000, will get only 15,000. So there is a one scheme. And then the numbers are expected to be large, considering that the EPFO adds about a crore people every year. That means in about 2 years, the number will be about 2 crore. So 2 crore, 10 lakh youth, that is what is envisaged here. Then there is a scheme B, which is for manufacturing, jobs in manufacturing. So that has got now a dual objective, trying to promote employment, but at the same time promote manufacturing. And where we see it, that manufacturing, share of manufacturing, our economy has to go up. And they have other cost constraints.
Absolutely.
This is one way of helping that industry, that EPFO contribution of employer as well as employee for a 4-year period as per specified scale will be picked up by the government. But then there is a threshold, meaning that either it has to be 25 employees or 25% of 50 employees, whichever is lower. Those first timer employees will be at the specified scale. In the first 2 years it will be 12% each, then there will be 8% each, and then is a 3% each. So 4 years they get the support, direct support, while they keep on giving their EPFO contribution. So that is a dual objective happening. Third scheme is direct support to employer only, but in all sectors.
Okay.
Now that the support is limited to 3,000 rupees a month towards a employer contribution to the EPF. Now, but that scheme is available only for 2 years. So meaning that if the person is getting, for the same employee, one is getting benefit out of B, scheme B, then scheme C is not available.
Right.
But if somebody is eligible because it's a manufacturing, suppose an employee is in manufacturing, will get it in 4 years there, but a non-manufacturing will get 2 years here and will get another 2 years under scheme B. So that is what the scheme is to help. First scheme is recognition of employee, a youth getting first time employment. Other 2 schemes helps, scheme B helps employee as well the employer, scheme C helps the employer but in all sectors.
So origination, retention and continuing.
That's correct. That's correct.
I have a follow-up for that,
Yeah,
but
sure.
at this stage let me also welcome Vivek Joshi, Secretary of the Department of Financial Services here. Sir, I have to ask you this question because this has been on top of all the social media conversations around the budget. No less than a bank like the State Bank of India, the banker to the government, saying that fixed deposits need to be incentivized from a point of view of deposit mobilization. You know the numbers. Was that discussed in the budget, and if it wasn't done, can I ask you to tell our viewers why? Because there is a lot of our viewership who are savers who still believe in the good old fixed deposit, and why did it not happen? I'm asking you this from a banking perspective, but I know that question can be equally directed to my left as well.
So, you know, these days these rates of fixed deposits and other kind of deposits in a bank, they are in the free regime. They are not, they cannot be fixed by any government or any even the RBI. They only fix a benchmark rate, and based on that, depending upon the competition for such kind of savings among the various banks, they decide their rates. So it's a bank free will to decide their rates.
Mr. Seth, if it's banking free will, then why is there a situation where deposit growth is not doing as per to the expectations of our banks?
Two parts. One, that today we are having a conversation about what is there in the budget.
Yes.
We are not having a conversation
What
about
is not there.
what is not there in the budget.
Not there.
But coming to this aspect, where does the fiscal policy should move? Fiscal policy to provide support for any asset class. And as we recall, our journey as an economy, as a country, we are moving towards a more simplified one. Lesser exemptions, but a simplified and a lower rates. Similar manner, there are competing demands on the fiscal resources which are available. Now, to get into an asset class, that if a bank deposits have to be given, then there are other forms of debt, then there are other forms of assets. So that is a path where everybody is then competing for a limited pool. But coming to this aspect, that how much bank should, in order to mobilize resources, they have to pay adequately to the depositors.
That's
There
a
is
very
the commercial
good
business to get into those areas. But let's park that issue. I'm
Yeah,
just flagging
absolutely.
that aspect, that what that imperatives get into that if each segment, each asset class expect a fiscal support,
that is
the resources are limited.
Absolutely. Let's now come back to the point that I had started with, Mr. Seth, and this is the employment focused initiatives. So I want to pick up on the MSMEs and the credit guarantee scheme. What is the entire thinking, and what kind of results do you expect in the near term, Mr. Joshi, from that initiative?
So for MSMEs, basically 8 key initiatives have been announced in this budget. One is the credit guarantee scheme for MSMEs in the manufacturing sector. This will facilitate the term loans without collateral for the third party guarantees. This is specifically to the manufacturing sector only. Then the second is the new assessment model for MSME credits. Till now the model is whereby the assessment of a MSME's strength is based on mainly their balance sheets and the income tax returns, etc. Now in the new model which the banks will devise in discussion with RBI, will be based on the digital footprints. Let's say the utility bills these MSMEs may be paying, the salaries they may be paying, the NPS contribution, etc., PF contribution they may be paying. Based on that, they will decide the eligibility of the MSME, which will certainly help the MSMEs who do not generate these balance sheets. Then there is a proposal in this budget to give credit support to MSMEs during the stress period. So when the MSME becomes from a standard account to SMA account or NPA account, during these SMA periods, the government will give some kind of guarantee to the banks and will endeavor that this MSME account becomes a standard, and so that the facilities of the working capital, etc., are not hindered by the banks, and on the strength of the guarantee provided by the government, banks continue the lending to this particular MSME and brings out of the stress. Then we have also revised this Mudra limit.
I was going to ask you,
10 lakh crores.
For it to be doubled, but the condition is those who have repaid their loans, obviously defaulters cannot be.
Yes.
What has the experience been in terms of the numbers? Did a vast majority repay as far as Mudra accounts are concerned?
Yeah, Mudra accounts are, above 10 lakh, there are people who have paid, and only those will become eligible. The experience has been quite good in terms of Kishore and Tarun also. So I think this will take off really well. And then the fifth point is about mandatory onboarding in TREDS platform.
Yes.
TREDS platform, currently the mandatory onboarding applies to public sector undertakings or private corporates above a certain threshold of 500 crore annual turnover. But now it has been reduced up to 250 crores, which will cover more corporates and public sector undertakings. Around 7,000 more private corporates will become eligible to be onboarded on TREDS, and around 22 more public sector undertakings will become eligible. So that SIDBI, there are provisions for SIDBI.
There are plenty of these provisions, but in the time that we have with you, Mr. Seth, I want to turn to the fiscal roadmap that has been announced. There was a RBI bonanza, and this debate continued. I remember talking to many economists in India and overseas, and the bulk of the opinion was that the government will not do anything to, fritter away the hard-won upgrade that we have seen, for example, from S&P. In terms of the broader fiscal policy, have you indicated that growth is secondary to ensuring that fiscal discipline is followed without fail?
I don't think there is any such trade-off, and this budget doesn't attempt any such trade-off, and we don't see it from that perspective. In fact, if the government is borrowing less, and what are combined government borrowings in a year as proportion to GDP, both central government and state governments put together, current year it would be of the order of about 8% or so. 5% government of India and about 3% in the state. In a normal year, that is pretty on a higher side, and that is how we had gone up, and then we are coming down to a lower level as per the consolidation path which has been announced. That means if the government is borrowing less, that much more money is available for private sector to invest. That is really an idea, and the question is that who can utilize the capital better, private sector, the government sector, both have a role to play. When it comes to the issue
that is the private sector now in a position to play that role? Some data suggests private sector investments are going up, but it's been a bit of a sore point for the recent past.
There are investments are picking it up, except for the first quarter of the current financial year, and I'll park that one because of very important political event happening as a part of the democracy. Does the investment decisions and so many other activities do get a secondary place? But if you look at the last quarter of the previous financial year, in terms of the announcements, in terms of the completion, there was a very clear one.
So, quick point on capex. I'm trying to cover as much ground as I can in the limited time I have. Do you think the economy and the project pipeline is enough to fully utilize this massive 11.11 lakh crore capex number that was announced in the budget? Because forget enhancing it, even this has to get utilized in the remaining part of the financial year.
See, given couple of percentage point here and there, if you look see that last year about 95% got utilized. This year also, that out of 11,000 crore, about 50% is with railways and with Ministry of Road Transport. So we are fairly confident that that money will get utilized, and this also has a support for the state government. Lakh and 50,000 crore is for the state government. And coming to your point of RBI, that a higher one, just look at this one.
Yes.
From 5.1 to 4.9, which is about 65,000 crore. So out of that additional money, which as per the original estimates which we had, half of the money is to do a further consolidation.
What is the amount of fresh spending over and above the interim budget projections across sectors, particularly social sector spending, that has been done?
See, the spending has not happened as yet, because we have done just about 4 months in a financial year. But if you look at the overall size of the budget, is about 48 lakh crore. But yes, about 60 to 70,000 crore of additional demand has come in, and which have been duly factored in the allocations, including for some of the new schemes which have been announced.
I am out of time, but one 30-second question, and because I am being prompted by my producers to definitely ask you about bank privatization. Is there anything in the budget on that front? Because IDBI Bank is something that I should not probably be even asking you.
In this budget, we have not mentioned anything about the bank's privatization.
But for the record, is there anything you can share about IDBI Bank with our viewers?
It's under consideration.
Well, that's the most I can get from two of the foremost budget makers in the Ministry of Finance. We wrap up this conversation here. I'll get you more budget makers in just a bit from now. Until then, goodbye. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, I present the budget for 24-25. Introduction. The people of India have reposed their faith in the government led by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and re-elected it for a historic third term under his leadership.